Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Betty Odubusu and it's such a delight to have you join me again this week on the channel. If you're new here, you're welcome. On this channel, I live my adulthood with you by sharing, topics that relate to adulting, interviews with fellow young people like myself to share their experiences, and also other lifestyle vlogs that I find interesting, entertaining, and also educative. So last week on the channel I shared a video of an interview with military men. Just so you know, my dad was part of those who retired from the Nigerian Armed Forces about 2 weeks ago, and so they got talking with me, sharing their experiences of how it is like being in the military for 35 years. I also decided that today I'm going to share my experience with you growing up as a daughter of a military man in the barracks, because I've lived literally more than half of my life in the barrack. And so I would also be sharing with you why I think I can never get married to a military person, and also lessons learned generally. So it's going to be an interesting one. Just stick with me and continue watching to get the full gist. So now to the video. Growing up in the barrack for me was not really so much of an interesting adventure for me, because first, my parents were religious. My parents are religious people, not like where they are still religious. And so imagine being a child to a military person who is also religious. So it's like a regimented life all through. And my parents were people that did not want us to be categorized as typical barrack children, because that term barrack children was one that usually was used to describe kids that grew up in the barracks, who are seen to be ras, how do I even put it? Like, barrack children were people that are seen as they are just there, they don't have focus in life, they just want to live in the barrack. But my parents didn't want us to be seen as that, because there were some things that could be seen in a person that would just make you feel, oh, this person is a barrack person. And one of those traits was the speaking of pidgin. Like, pidgin is one thing in the barracks that's very common. Like, even you speaking normal English doesn't even seem all right. And living in the barrack, growing up in the barracks, it was living in the barracks is a communal life. I mean, we all lived in similar blocks that were not so far from each other, and so everyone were like literally together. It's like you are being brought up by the entire community. A soldier can see you somewhere and be like, oh, are you not the child of this person? Why are you doing this? So it's like a communal life. Everybody is one. And so back to my parents. So the kind of life my parents made us live was that, okay, from school, to even make matters was my primary school, secondary school, everything was all in the barracks. And so church was not even far from the barracks. So it was like everything I needed was in the barracks. And going outside was not like, I had no much experience of what the outside life felt like, except maybe when we were going to church and we had to go to like headquarters. Then I used to feel so happy, because at least we're going out of the barrack. And so my life was just all about school, church, back home, help my mom. My mom's workplace was also in the barrack, and so everything was just in the barrack. Growing up in the barrack was not so much fun, like I said, because we're more like a little of get inside kind of thing. We're not really allowed to go out. Although as we got older, my parents actually they gave us free hands. We were less of get inside kids. So growing up too, I grew up seeing less of my dad, especially when I got towards age 10, 11, because the life of a soldier man is being posted. You get sometimes, and moving with your family is not so much of a good idea, because it's just going to make your life so unstable. Imagine being posted to a place and 6 months later you have to leave. So at a point we just had to stop moving with my dad, who I was born in Zaria, Kaduna State, and so from there we moved to Enugu. From Enugu we moved to Lagos, and in Lagos we had to move to another part of Lagos because my dad was posted. So after this, my parents were just like, oh no, we can't continue living, because after we got to Lagos, my dad was posted to Ibadan again, and my mom and dad just decided that no, we're not going to move anymore, we're just going to stay while he does the moving around. And so I got to see less of my dad and more of my mom. So literally my mom was the one that was there most of the time, although we still got to talk to my dad and still communicate with him, but it was not like him being there physically. And so all of these experiences, seeing how my mom also was running the family, doing everything. My mom was the one doing the roles of dad and mom. Watching her just made me feel like, do I really want to do this? Like, how does it feel like getting married to someone and you get to see the person like maybe 3 or 4 times a year? Like, how? This is one of the things that actually formed my own notion that I don't think I want to get married to a military person. Nah, I don't want to do that. But one thing I must commend is the fact that my mom was able to, still hold us together as a family, regardless of the fact that my dad was not there. We've seen so many cases of families that once their dad leaves, the children just become something else. The children also live a life, the standard of their life drops because their father is no longer there to like take charge of things. But with my own family, it wasn't like that. My parents were like really connected and still united, even the fact that they were in different locations. And so this is like one of the things that formed my own thoughts of not wanting to get married to a military person. Another thing I would say about growing up as a kid of a military person is the fact that you had to live in the fear of the unknown, especially when you have your dad fighting somewhere in another state without having access to him. So for me, my dad was posted to Borno to go fight Boko Haram at the time in the service, and so we could not communicate with him. We couldn't call. He could only do the calling because of security reasons over there. And so there was a time that he did not call us for days. Like, we could not talk to him. And at this point, different things are going through your mind. You're like, is he still alive? Is he dead? What's going on? And all of these things. And the funny thing is that we could not communicate all of this amongst ourselves, but you could tell that everyone was tense. Everyone felt the tension that, is this man okay? Is this man fine? And after a while, after a few days rather, he called us. I'm like, we're put in relief again. And then whenever he came to the house, he had time to visit us maybe for 2-3 days and then go back to his station. Whenever he came, he always told us tales of his experiences there, how they were attacked and how he was able to escape, and all of these things. Just somehow, as much as I knew that I was only trying to share his experiences, somehow they kind of like put fear in me personally, because whenever I left again, I would be like, hey God, I don't know one that knows what's going to happen again. Or is this man going to come back safe? Is this man going to return alive? And all of these things are like some of the things that I had to go through as his daughter. But then who are you going to tell? There's really no one to tell all of this than just God, because God was like the only person you have to talk to in prayers, that God, please, so this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm facing. Another thing about growing up was the fact that you really did not know the reality of living outside the barracks. You really don't know until you get to like experience it. Now for me, I had this experience when I went to learn a skill. This was during the GS3 long break, 3 months holiday, and I was enrolled to go learn catering outside the barracks. And so when I got there, that was like one of the first time I knew that, oh, people actually pay water bills, people pay light bills. Like, all of these things are free. Why do people pay for it? Even to movement of trash, waste management, I got to know that people actually pay for these things, and when you do not pay, they do not come to like pack your own. And I'm like, this one is new to me. And I remember there was one day where the shop where I was learning, the building there, they did not pay for their waste, and so when the truck came, they did not pack their own. Or because this thing has been here for weeks, they started running, the truck passed their house, and so they started running after the truck to like throw whatever it was that they could throw. And all this, I was like, what kind of lifestyle is this? So we don't do that where I'm from. We don't do that in the barrack. Like, life in the barrack is very organized and it's just peaceful. It's organized and peaceful. And so seeing all of these things, like going miles to go fetch water before you can have water, all of these things, like, why do they do all of this here? So I think living in the barrack actually did not make me know that water, waste, and people pay for all these things. It's not free, but I'm not used to it in the barrack. So that's also one of the things that I enjoyed living in the barrack. I enjoyed from living in the barrack, if that is correct. You shall understand what I'm saying. And so this is like the summary of how life was for me growing up as a child of a military man. Although I'm so glad now that my dad is back with us, and it's like all the years he was away just went like that. That's to tell you that, see, no matter how long something might have been absent, once the presence of that person or that thing comes, it's like you just forget everything. Just like when a woman that has been waiting on God for a child for years, when the child finally comes, it's like all those years just means nothing. That's exactly how it is for me now that my dad is back with us and the family is complete. It's just it feels so good to have every one of us together, and nobody is away. There's no fear of, oh, is this person gonna come back, is this person not gonna come back? It's just really amazing and beautiful. So if you're the child of a military person, I'd like to hear from you what your own experience was like growing up in the barrack, or if you are someone that grew up away from your parents, what was your experience like? I'd like to hear from you. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know if you enjoyed watching it, and see you again next week in my You're the night sky trying to make me see your stars. The dark gets on